Good afternoon, readers. It's Tilly here from Tilly's Shelf, and welcome to what I'm going to call another bookish breakfast, but it's not going to be very bookish, and it's definitely not breakfast time. I had a very long lie-in this morning to prepare for starting nights again, and yeah, it's kind of mid-afternoon, but we'll just gloss over that point and move on swiftly. So I already started recording this video, but my phone is quite glitchy. I'm just not having the best time with technology at the moment. My phone is a bit glitchy, and it just decided that it was going to throw a tantrum and just deleted everything I'd said so far. So I'm going to try again. Let's give it another go. I have been self-isolating, or we've both been self-isolating for the last 2 weeks because we went to Turkey, and then while we were in Turkey it got taken off the travel corridors list, and we couldn't feasibly get home within that window before the self-isolation time would start. So we ended up self-isolating, and I thought it would be potentially of interest to talk about what we've been doing in that time while we've been stuck at home, and how we've been making the most of that time, and yeah, just also have the opportunity to ask you if you've been in this situation, which increasingly more and more of us have, where you've been contacted by Test and Trace, or you've been to somewhere where you shouldn't have been to and then got forced to quarantine when you came back. What have you done, or what would you do if you've got those 2 weeks? Because I think before I had this experience, I was thinking, oh, I'd love those 2 weeks at home. But actually some of the facts involved, like not being able to just get some food shopping, or not being able to go out for exercise has been the big one. It's not as easy as just having 2 weeks off at home. But it's been good. It's not been a bad experience. It has made me have a real increase of empathy for people who were shielding for a long time at the start of this year. I think that must have been a really horrible experience, to be honest. But overall, it's been all right. So just wanted to tell you what I've been up to, I suppose. So I was really keen to feel like I had used this time to good purpose, and I think overall, I've broadly speaking achieved that. I haven't been as efficient as I thought I would be, but overall I've made good use of the time. So one of the main things I wanted to do is I'm doing a course at the moment that got delayed for months and months and months due to COVID, but I have certain things that I need to get signed off for it, and I need to get them signed off quite quickly because I'm about to move jobs, and part of it is tied to the job that I do at the moment. So I have spent many hours working on my competency booklet and just trying to produce like a range of evidence to show that I've achieved some competencies in my last few years working where I have worked, so I can get those things signed off before I go. So yeah, I'm hopeful that will prove to have been a good use of that time, because if I can get those skills signed off, I can get my certificate before I leave, then I will have that to fall back on later on in my career. So I'm pleased that I've managed to get that done, but it did take a lot longer than it should have done, because it was like, I don't like calling things boring. I'm not the kind of person who will just write stuff off, and it is interesting to read the background and delve into kind of like the anatomy, physiology side of things. But generally speaking, it's been looking at a lot of things that I already do and I already know how to do, and then just reading and writing down what it is that I already do. And that's not always been the most stimulating experience. So I've been trying to fill the rest of the time with more creative and exciting activities. One of the main things that we've been doing together to keep ourselves cheerful and occupied is we have been playing some board games. So we've played chess for the first time in years. This is the chess set that I got when I was in Jerusalem, so a few years ago now. And we got it out because we wanted to play backgammon, because while we were in Turkey we saw some people, quite a few people playing backgammon, and they looked like they were having the most amazing time. So we were like, oh, we'll get out the chess set that's got a backgammon board on the inside, and then we'll learn how to play backgammon. But unfortunately, I don't know whether you can tell, but the design of this board is actually, it looks like a backgammon set, but it wouldn't function as a backgammon board. So we weren't able to do that, but we did play chess, and that was all right. We're not really perfectly matched when it comes to chess, so it tends to be a bit of an uneven game for us. And we're also not very much into really adversarial games where you're playing against each other, and chess by its very nature is that, like, you're playing to beat one another, whereas we tend to like to play games where we feel like we're collaborating to a certain extent. So a more collaborative game that we own, that we've been learning how to play this week, is Assembly. So Assembly was created by Janice and Stu Turner, and this is the first game they've produced. Because of that, I would say that it does have some flaws. The rulebook is not incredibly clear. So the first time we played this a couple of years ago now, we got it as a Christmas present from my brother. He was kind enough to get it for us because he knew that we wanted collaborative board games. It was just a little bit hard to get our heads around, and we didn't get the enjoyment of it because we were struggling to understand it so much. But this time around, because we've had a little bit more time to read through the rules fully and just play different ways and work out what the rules mean, we've started to really enjoy it, and we've played it a good few times. Basically, the idea is that you are having to build a spaceship, but you're building it kind of like in a race against the clock, and there are certain communication limitations, so you can only ask each other yes/no questions and things. And yeah, it's increasingly fun, and I think I would recommend it, but I would also recommend maybe just watching a video of the rules or something rather than trying to work out from the rule book straight away. We have also been playing quite a lot of Machikuru, so I never thought I would really enjoy a game that's based pretty much exclusively on capitalism, but the idea behind Machikuru is that you have a town and you're trying to build certain landmarks in the town and set up an economy for the town, and it's a race to get your town to be the most established. And it's really fun. We've played it a lot, and we tend to like make up our own little variations on the rules as well to take out some of the most like adversarial cards and just make it a bit more of a friendly game. But we play both versions. Then we've been playing some Rummikub. Our Rummikub set is in a little bag, but that's like a number matching game. It's quite fun. And also some Scrabble. This is my Simpsons Scrabble set that I wound up acquiring it at a student house somehow. Somebody else left it behind, which we're quite well matched when it comes to Scrabble. So that works quite well for us as a game, and I like it because it feels like when you play Scrabble, it definitely doesn't feel like a waste of time because you feel like you're using your brain a little bit more, which I guess some people probably get from chess, but I always feel like if I'm playing Scrabble, then I'm kind of exercising my mind as well as playing a fun game. Then we've also played Sushi Go, which I didn't pick up, but that's a game where you pretend that you're on like a sushi, you know, the little trains that go around that carry the sushi around, and you kind of pretend that you're picking sushi and all the different pieces of sushi are worth different points. That is really fun, and we've played it a few times, but the downside is it really makes you want like you want to eat the sushi, if that makes sense. Like you play a tempura card and then you're like, oh, I could really fancy some tempura, and the restrictions of not being able to just go to the shops means that we haven't been able to like try and cook that kind of thing. Like we ran out of soy sauce, we ran out of sesame oil, we ran out of olive oil, we nearly ran out of vegetable, we ran out of margarine, like we're just running out of everything. So we had to get a little bit creative with our kitchen, like our culinary endeavours. I've been spending quite a bit of time in the garden trying to do some weeding and get everything like set up and prepared for the winter and so on. And we had some runner beans that I planted like way back in the summer, and when we went away to Turkey, I'd harvested a load just before, but runner beans are quite good at like they keep producing, but at this time of the year they're really like tough and stringy, so had to find something to be able to do with those to make use of them, given that we had no other vegetables. So learnt to make a runner bean soup, which was surprisingly quite nice. So yeah, I feel like that's the big thing that I've learnt during this self-isolation, is how to make use of old stringy runner beans. So come to me if you've got any and you want to know the recipe, because I think we'll definitely be making it in future years if we end up with stringy runner beans. So what else have we been doing? Last night we watched the new Netflix adaptation of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is a book that I love, but it's not my favourite book by her. So I think, I know that there have been some not entirely positive reviews of Rebecca, the new Rebecca, and that's with Lily James, and I think, is it Ash Hammer, who plays Mr. and Mrs. De Winter. But I enjoyed it, I think, because it's been such a long time since I read Rebecca, and I have now started reading it again, even though it's not a Victorian book, so it doesn't count for Victober. And I haven't seen the 1940 Alfred Hitchcock version, and I think a lot of people have said, oh, this new version is not as good as that version, but because I don't have that comparison point, I didn't I didn't feel like it lacked suspense. I didn't feel like it wasn't as good as something else because I didn't have that comparison point. So I think I was lucky in a way because I went into it really ready to be pleased and ready to enjoy it, and I really did. It's not like it's nothing groundbreaking, but it was 2 enjoyable hours of the evening. Other things we've been watching is, in honour of Victober, I watched the North and South miniseries, and then kind of accidentally read the majority of the book, and we also watched The Lord of the Rings. Because, you know, if you've got hours and hours and hours, why not fill some of them with a very long film series? But we really enjoyed The Lord of the Rings, and obviously while we were in Turkey we listened to the audiobook of The Hobbit, so it was kind of like we were in a Tolkien-y mindset. And we also watched some of the bonus features, which was pretty interesting, but you definitely can't sit down and watch all of them at once. There are lots of bonus features. And it was kind of sad in a way as well, because our initial plan was to go to New Zealand and maybe see some of the filming locations as well as exploring other parts of New Zealand. And obviously we weren't able to do that, but we're still planning on doing that sometime in the future. So in terms of reading, I mentioned that I read the majority of North and South. I also read Hard Times, which was interesting because Hard Times and North and South were actually published alongside one another, or very similar in time to one another. They were published in a periodical that was run by Dickens, and they were both published in 1854. And they both deal with quite similar themes, or quite similar settings at least. So they're both set in the industrial north, in a made-up city. So one of them's called Milton and one of them's called Coketown. So they really were inventive with their names of northern cities. And they both have this idea that they're the working classes, the mill working hands. They both have this character that's like somehow better than other hands and clearer at explaining things and intelligent, who then kind of like takes on the manufacturers in a verbal explanation of the situation for the hands. And I found it really interesting that both of them kind of portrayed the majority of the factory workers as still being definitely at a lower level, socially and intellectually, to the rest of the characters, but both of them had this one character that they kind of elevated, almost like to balance things out a little bit. I would say that I didn't enjoy Hard Times as much as other Dickens books that I've read, because I found it too short. And one of the things I really love about Dickens is all of his different characters and all of his different storylines that overlap. And I felt like there were some storylines that were set up in Hard Times that for some reason he didn't pursue. And I guess I'm just slightly curious as to like why that is and why Hard Times was so curtailed, because I felt like I really like the character of Sissy, but her storyline just doesn't really go far enough, and she's set up so well as this really interesting character, and then you just don't really see that lived out in a way. So the other thing that I've been reading is Jude the Obscure, which I started after I finished Hard Times. And I've been trying to do something that I know that other people do, where I listen to the audiobook and read the book, and kind of switch between them. So when I'm doing something like in the kitchen, I'll listen to the audiobook, and then when I've got some time, I'll sit down and read the book. And I wanted to read this book because it's so beautiful. It's a Folio Society edition that my mum found for me in a charity shop, and it's got this gorgeous map of Wessex in the front, and then it's also got some woodcut pictures, if I can find one for you. Here we go. Here's Jude being about to be hit by the farmer for letting the birds have something to eat. But I find that that's really not really working for me. So if it's something that you do you have any like tips and advice on how you do it? Because I feel like when I'm listening to the audiobook, I'm only getting about 80% of the story. Like I can't take it all in as much as I want to. And then I find it quite jarring to then move back into the book. Whereas with Hard Times, I didn't feel like I was missing anything when I listened to it out loud. And I don't know whether that's because Dickens's writing style really lends itself to being read out loud, or Hardy's is just a little bit more rich and a little bit more complex. So I'm really not sure why that is, but I would be interested, is that something that you do? And if so, does it work for you? Or am I just doing something wrong? So that is the majority of stuff that I've been reading, other than obviously the poetry every evening. And then the one last thing that I've been doing that has been a bit more of a creative use of the time is I have been writing. So I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of the idea of National Novel Writing Month in November, Nanowrimo. And the idea of October being Preptober, where you spend the month preparing for the National Novel Writing Month. I have often thought about and wanted to join in with the NaNoWriMo thing, but it's never really been the right time for me. I've always been starting a new course, or during the middle of a course, or starting a new job. I have this tendency to start jobs in the autumn. My new job I'm going to be starting at the end of November. So it's just never been the right time, but I thought now I'm going to be between jobs. I'm going to actually have a little bit of time off in November, and I would really like to use that time productively and put it towards writing a novel. Obviously, if the COVID situation continues to get worse in my area, that's probably not going to be an option for me because I'm going to have to work one way or another. But yeah, while I think that I'm going to have a little bit of time off, I would really like to be able to do that. So I have been filling this notebook that was handmade for me by my husband. Trying to show you. So he made a little ribbon for it, and he's hand sewed all of the pages together for I think my birthday last year, and I filled it up with loads of notes so far for this story idea that I've had for a long time, and then I've been working through some Preptober resources of plot summaries and character ideas and so on. And then I've also been using this app called Wavemaker, which I'm going to show you. It's really pretty. Oh, no, apparently not. There we go. And then you have scene cards and stuff. I've got a little different collection where I've put some inspirational little bits from literature and so on that are feeding into the story. And I think that some other people on BookTube are also doing the kind of Preptober and NaNoWriMo type stuff. So I would be interested to hear if you are doing it. I don't know that I'm going to finish it because I've never done it before, but I'm quite keen to give it a go. So I guess I'm saying it out loud on here to encourage a sense of accountability for myself, because that's what all of the websites say. You need to make yourself accountable for this goal. So hopefully if I do all right, I'll be able to tell you that I've succeeded, potentially. Or if not, I will at least have had the opportunity to give it a go and try and push myself to do that. So anyway, that is the majority of what I've been doing and we've been doing over the course of lockdown. My partner has mainly been doing kind of crafty stuff. He's got a little workshop set up, so he spent a lot of time in there making stuff out of wood and so on. So it's been all right for both of us, I think. But I'm very, very glad that we can go out today and go and buy some fresh food that's not just old stringy runner beans. And yeah, I'm actually quite looking forward to being back at work and seeing my colleagues and getting involved in normal life again. For a value of normal while COVID is still ongoing, and the area that I'm in at the moment is in a tier 2 restriction, but I am assuming relatively soon we're going to be in tier 3, so we'll just have to see how it goes. So yeah, if you have been in quarantine yourself, I would like to know how you spent that time and any recommendations that you would have for using this time. The thing that I didn't mention is that I did a load of online exercise activities. So I did a lot of Zumba. I did about 10-hour-long Zumba classes over the course of the 2 weeks. Not classes, but pre-recorded videos. And I did probably also about 10 yoga sessions. So I was trying to keep myself fit and healthy, and spent a lot of time in the garden because that psychologically is a bit better than just dancing along to Zumba music, I think, for me, I find. So yeah, what have you done in any quarantine time that you've had, and are you doing any writing projects at the moment? Are you going to be participating in NaNoWrimo, and what your Preptober recommendations are, and if you've done it before, and any favourite board games that you have, because that's been the other main thing that I've talked about in this surprisingly long and very scatterbrained video. So any favourite board games that you have, and anything that you've been reading for Victober that lines up with the things that I've been reading as well. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it's been in some way interesting. I don't know. So take care, and I will speak to you soon. Very soon actually, because I will be doing a Victober poem in an hour or so. Okay, take care everyone.